Hey YouTube, Marshall the Apologist here again. I was just gonna make hopefully a quick video. I always say that. I'm gonna try and respond to some bad arguments concerning Christianity specifically, but really this kind of applies to any sort of theistic religion at all. Monotheistic anyway. Maybe polytheistic. It kind of depends. But I'm gonna help out some of the militant atheists of YouTube. That's not to say that all atheists on YouTube are stupid. There's a lot of atheists on YouTube that I follow and that I admire the thought processes of, and frankly, I'd really like to have a tableside discussion with concerning a lot of different things, including religion, but also pretty much anything else I've expressed any interest in on my channel. In particular, there are probably about 3 really popular mainline attacks that really stridently, I'm an atheist thing, so you have to be one too, or you're a herkider stupid Christian. And most of the atheists that I listen to on YouTube or am friends with in real life don't do that. They know better, as a rule. They may think the religion's full of crap, but you know, they're at least halfway polite about it. And if they attack it, they usually try to keep it on some kind of fair grounds. But I've seen attacks like these come across both personally and on YouTube and Facebook and all manner of things. So, I mean, I'm just going to help these guys out. This is a good faith effort to help them out, okay? So, here are probably, I'm going to shoot for 3. I'm going to shoot for 3 really terrible arguments against the existence of God, Christianity in general, whatever. Okay, first of all is the super annoying and infantile argument, can God make a rock so big that he can't lift it? Or, they usually don't attack it in that sort of way. They usually go about if God is all good and all powerful, then evil shouldn't happen, so I win. No, that's completely irrational. I had a really quite long and fairly frustrating debate with a person in a web forum about this, and we really didn't get anywhere. Being all-powerful, being almighty, having all power, okay, these are more in the realm of biblical terms. The Bible itself doesn't use the word omnipotent because that comes from a language that postdates the Bible and a lot of other things. But never minding that, the idea behind being all-powerful has nothing to do with having the ability to do anything. Right? That's not what it means. It doesn't mean you can just do anything. You can make square circles. You can make rocks so big you can't lift them. You can make one-ended sticks. You can make numbers have the properties of color. No, that is, numbers don't weigh anything. And not even God can make numbers weigh something. Being all-powerful doesn't mean that. It can mean a few different things, philosophically. This comes from my atheist philosophy professor in university. Okay? So, what would all-powerful mean? Well, it would mean a few things. It would mean having all the power sufficient to do what you want. Okay? You have the power to achieve your desires. Whatever your desire is, it can be met with power because you have the power to do that. Okay? That would be reasonably fair. Even God can't want something that he doesn't want. That's not an issue of having enough power. That just you just can't do that. Okay? So that one aside. Another possible understanding of being all powerful is you have all the power that exists. It resides within you, and you have dispersed, you have lent, and you have sent out some degree of power in some way to other things. But you are the source, you are the origin of all things that are power, and that use and are consisting of power. You could use it that way, and God would fit in that just fine, and still wouldn't be able to make one-ended sticks if that's what it means. Probably the single most popular definition that you can come across is being all-powerful would mean that you have It's pretty much more like the first one, honestly. The last one is almost exactly the same as the first. And that's that you have all the power to do things which power can accomplish. Which is really a lot like the first one. But needless to say, there's no degree of power that you could ever have as a being, or that anyone could ever even theoretically have as a being, that would enable you to make a one-ended stick. It's an illogical thing that simply just cannot be done by the nature of the thing that you want to do. Okay, it's not even that logic has power over God. I got into a really quite long argument about that. It simply is that if there is a mind that thinks, logic exists, because logic is part and parcel of thinking. It's like, to say otherwise would be like having matter with no mass. No, if you have matter, you have mass. By definition of by the nature of what matter is, you must have mass, and because you have mass, you must have gravity. And it's not that one creates or has hold over the other, and one is preeminent over the... No, it's all simultaneous and instant, necessarily linked kinds of things. If you have thought, you have to have logic, and you have to have an order to your thoughts. That simply is how it is. So, to that end, if God desires that humans be free, and also that humans do good things, one of those has to be more important than the other to a deity, if the deity, whatever deity you want, has created both of them and wants to be able to hold them in contention. That's how that is. So, in any case, no. Stupid argument. Don't ever bring it up again. If you bring it up in a professional philosophical debate, you're going to get crushed by anyone who knows anything about philosophy or argument on any level. You're not going to win. You're just going to get stomped into little bits. And I know a lot of atheist professors who would be glad to do it to you. They don't believe in God, but they still know that is a stupid argument. Secondly, another big one is the Bible isn't perfectly scientifically accurate in all of its claims concerning anything, and therefore you can't trust it all. First of all, that's a non sequitur. It's a fallacy. Okay, it doesn't follow that if the Bible doesn't make scientifically accurate claims, that all of its truth claims are completely irrelevant. You just can discard the whole book. I know where you're coming from. You're coming from, if the Bible is perfect and contains all truth, it should also contain scientific truth. And in certain places it does, and in certain other places it clearly does not. There are certain passages in the Bible that are problematic for science, such as claiming that the sky is in fact hard like brass. Okay, that you could knock on it and it has windows, and through those windows angels can come and so forth. Okay, I understand what you mean, if that's where you're going. Okay, but that's a bad argument for not only as a non sequitur, but it's an argument that leads up to, well, if you can doubt some of the Bible, why wouldn't you doubt all the rest? Okay, the Bible was, of course, penned by the hands of men, and possibly some women, that were living in a pre-scientific age. That's fine, okay? I'm not saying that, therefore, the Bible should not contain truth. It should, and it does. We don't really know just how literally and seriously the ancient people took the idea of a flat discus earth with a dome over the top of it that was hard like brass, and the heavens were beyond it, and all sorts of things were there, and the lights that would poke through and whatnot were, various divine beings looking through the holes in the sky, and all the like. We don't know that. We don't know how seriously they took that. That might have just been a rough, basic model just to be able to talk about the world in some kind of a way. I'm sure some people took it maddeningly seriously, and I'm sure others didn't. We don't know. Okay, what we do know is that for the purposes of God communicating to men concerning himself, he was not overly concerned with establishing the genetic relations between various living beings on the planet. Didn't care. Not the point. So if that wasn't the point, when he's talking about literally anything to do with anything within the animal kingdom, up to and including backs being birds, which is a stupid argument, by the way, because backs were birds at one point in time. No, I don't mean they belonged in the same family as birds or were related to them in any way. It simply is that the word bird meant anything that flew. It's not a bug and it flies, it's a bird. That's what the word meant. The word has then changed meaning because of science, but that's irrelevant. Much how whales were fish, dolphins were fish. They're fish. And then later, science came in and then said, well, we want to call these things fish, and these things aren't related to those things, so we want to say that these aren't actually fish. The post facto argument. It works fine for language, bad arguments. Anyway. The points that God were trying to make weren't that the sky is, in fact, hard like brass, that you could knock on it if you could get to it. And you would crash into it if you ever tried to go to the moon. Actually, the moon they figured was under it, but never mind. That wasn't the point that it was trying to make. If you think that that's the point of any verses concerning that, you're totally missing the whole point. The point was that God, say for instance, established the pillars of the earth. He's the one who created it. They thought there were pillars of the earth, and he said, you know what, if that's what you want to think, fine. Not really worried about trying to tell you that the earth is a sphere and it's this many thousands of miles around, or hundreds of miles around. It's a little over 1,000 or so, I think. I don't remember the exact circumference right off the top of my head. I'll look that up later. In any case, he wasn't interested in trying to tell people that the moon went around the earth and that the sun went around the moon, or the earth went around the sun, and irrelevant. If he told that to them, what are they supposed to do with it? God is completely unconcerned with telling people about things that they can't do anything about. That's why we know very little in the Bible about anything to do with angels or demons or anything of the like. That's why we know very little about the heavens. Suppose God came down and told us all about, right now, with all of our scientific knowledge, came down and told us all about the heavens. Okay. So? I mean, what am I supposed to do with that knowledge? Nothing. It's completely impractical, irrelevant information. Perhaps if I were there, it would matter to me, and perhaps he would begin to tell me about it. If God were to come now, by the way, and say any number of things, he would talk to us in our current scientific understanding of things. And then later, in a few more 100 or perhaps 1,000 years, we would find out we didn't know jack diddly about anything, and the people then would look at the people now, and they would go, oh, clearly you are all just full of mush, and there is no God because he described things the way you people understood them, not the way they actually are, which now we really know. No, that's silly. So, yes, the Bible does often use pre-scientific language to describe things, and that's fine, because that wasn't the point. The point wasn't to convey a literal truth of the way the physical universe is set up. The point was to let you understand that he's the one that made the physical universe, and however it's set up, however you think it works, he's the one that caused it to be that way. Argument number 3 is much, much shorter, and that's the stop saying that Christians say that atheists are immoral. I'm sure there are many Christians who would say such a thing, but seriously, the Bible doesn't say that, Christianity doesn't say that, Judaism doesn't say that. That has nothing to do with anything. You don't have to defend or attack on the grounds of people thinking that you're immoral simply because you're an atheist. No one's making that claim. We think people are immoral, and some of them happen to be atheists. Some of them are Christians. What we are saying is that without a God, you don't have morality, period.